What's up, guys? It's Dan from Coin Bureau Trading, back at it again with another crypto market update. Today we've got Solana, Sui, and Aptos. I'm sure you're all wondering what these cryptos are up to. When are they going to recover? How high are they going to go? If this is the kind of content that you enjoy, then be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ping that notification bell. Before we get started, do keep in mind that nothing in this video is financial advice. It's just my personal analysis of these cryptos. Your analysis could be different, and honestly, guys, if it is, that's awesome, because the more difference of opinion we have, the better traders, the better investors we're all going to become. So with that being said, let's jump straight into it. And I guess the key question is, of course, now, a lot of these altcoins have kind of been chopping sideways. And the question is, what is the catalyst that is going to cause them to recover? In the case of Solana, I actually think it could be related to virtuals. For those of you who are unfamiliar, virtuals is basically this AI agent launchpad. And of course, AI agents are kind of, I don't want to say they're similar to meme coins, but most of them are kind of like meme coins. And some of you guys might remember that there was a lot of AI agents rallying late last year and earlier this year, and virtuals has now expanded to Solana. So chances are that we're going to see a similar kind of hype happening. And of course, the question is, okay, but why would AI agents start to rally, right? So basically, I'm saying Solana is probably going to rally because of this AI agents, but why would AI agents start becoming popular, and why would they start rallying? The answer is a crypto project called Story Protocol, which basically deals with intellectual property. Without getting too far down the rabbit hole, Story Protocol seems to have a very close relationship to virtuals. It looks like it's going to be used for like intellectual property related to AI stuff on chain. So, and of course, this mainnet is going to launch tomorrow. So I think that what's probably going to happen is Story Protocol mainnet will launch. You'll see the token drop, and then around that time, or maybe a few days after, who knows, it might take like a week or whatever. You'll probably see more hype in the AI agent space, potentially around AI cryptos in general, because of course one of the biggest concerns with AI has been the use of like intellectual property, and there's lots of really cool stuff you can do in terms of like mixing intellectual property with purely AI generated content. And if you have everything on chain, then you can kind of determine the royalties, let's say. So that's one thing that's really interesting, and something I think a lot of people are overlooking. Story Protocol is backed by very big investors in the US, and of course, when we combine that with yesterday's launch of Unichain, the launch of Barachain last week, which was also super VC backed, the fact that all these cryptos are launching now tells me that investors are preparing for a big move. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but in my mind, there's only one reason why all these big crypto projects would be choosing to launch like within this time frame. I think it's because they know that there's about to be some change or some announcement that's coming. On that note, there's another thing to keep in mind that's more specific to Solana, and that's that there's going to be a PayFi summit here happening on the 17th, which is next Monday, and that kind of tells me, it's not necessarily going to coincide to something around stablecoins, but Solana's key thing, I think, in this cycle is going to be stablecoin payments. You already see USDC supply growing on Solana a lot. Of course, part of that was due to the Trump meme coin, but a lot of that is also due, I think, to Circle positioning to use Solana USDC on Solana, sorry, for payments. And PayFi is kind of this new niche. The term was actually coined by the head of the Solana Foundation, which is, kind of interesting, let's say. And I do think that this is something that is going to be a very big narrative in the coming months, and probably the narrative that's going to take a lot of cryptos like Solana, Sui, Aptos. It's going to take them higher, because I think all of them are going to be used for payments to some extent. Anyways, guys, it's about time that we came to the charts. Again, like as with most cryptos, I've been covering kind of like the same cryptos now for the last few weeks. And you guys will notice that basically all of them have been chopping within a range here. Solana's no different, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your view. It's basically been retesting or working its way back down to the starting point. Who knows, maybe later today, there's going to be a CPI print. I personally think it's going to be bullish for the markets, but if it's bearish, then, you could see Solana fall back down to the starting point. So I don't know what that would be, like another 10% drop, let's say, but I don't think it's going to fall below that starting point. You can see that it's been holding very strongly the whole time. Could we see a deviation below? Possibly, it's always possible, but I don't think it's going to be going too much lower to that level, assuming it even goes to that level. If we do get a bullish announcement here around the CPI, then Sol could very quickly rally above this $200 support level and goes, which has been roughly holding over the last few days. Of course, it's been like deviating within $5 of that. Not going to split hairs there, but I do think that a positive CPI print, some positive macro data could be enough to take Sol all the way back up to $240. And of course, we have all these other catalysts that I just mentioned that could take it above that level and back to this $300 target, which I do think is going to be retest. This is not the cycle top for Solana. This is just a short-term target here over in the next few weeks, and it's one that I do feel quite strongly will be hit by the end of this month. With that being said, you might have noticed that we're using Binance there. If you want a 20% trading fee discount and up to $600 in bonuses, then be sure to take advantage of our link in the description. I also have it in the pinned comment there. These deals might sound a little bit silly, but honestly, guys, even if you're just trading with a small amount of money, if you're trading frequently or just like, buying and selling frequently, let's say, not necessarily a trader, but you're just buying and selling frequently, those fees do add up. I know that from experience. Taking advantage of these deals doesn't cost you anything. It's completely free. You get a trading fee discount. The exchange gets a new user, and we get a cut of your trading fees. That's how we make our money. We're not sponsored by any crypto projects. I think that we're basically the only crypto YouTube channel that's not sponsored by any crypto projects. But anyways, guys, moving on now to Sui. And this, of course, what some of you may have heard is that Phantom, which is of course the most popular wallet on Solana, had a recently integrated Sui. I think this is a very big deal, and I actually think this is an excellent strategic decision from Sui's end. Like, rather than focusing on like creating a better, more user-friendly front end and trying to get users to go from the Sui wallet to the Phantom wallet, I think Sui just probably came to some deal with Phantom or with key players in Solana's ecosystem, and they said, look, we'll just integrate with you guys. It's really interesting. I wonder what the exact deal was there. Maybe just Phantom decided to integrate just for the simple fact that Phantom knows that Sui, so it could be the other way around, that like Phantom wanted Sui on their wallet because Sui is a very popular chain. But regardless, guys, as you can see now, it's pretty possible, or I guess it's possible to buy Sui directly in Phantom, which is a big deal. I do think that all these high-performant blockchains that are super, low cost, fast, user-friendly, like Solana, like Sui, like Aptos, I think all of these are going to do extremely well. Same thing with Ton, for that matter. I actually did a research feed post about that. I'll come back to that later in the video. The point being is that I do think that this is a very big deal, and this is kind of something I've been highlighting again, like a lot in my videos and also in the Coin Bureau Club. Is the change to crypto market structure that it brings. The easier that it is to buy these cryptos, the more that money is going to flow into them, eventually, let's say, with the right catalyst in place. So speaking of which, one thing that I do think is going to be very big here for Sui is going to be this upcoming Sui Gaming Summit that's going to be held on March 18th. I think that this is the catalyst that can mark the target that I've set on the chart, which I'll get to in a second. But if you have a Sui Play device, expect to see some announcements around that device, sometime around this date. I imagine they'll probably announce that they're going to ship or starting to ship or whatever else. It's really interesting. And I do think it's going to be a very big, I do think that hardware is going to be a very big meta. And I do think that GameFi is going to be a very big narrative. Anyways, guys, turning now to the Sui chart. So same thing like Solana, Sui's been kind of chopping within the same range. It's, a little bit different. I do think that there's a lot of whale activity here. You could make the argument that Sui's kind of like in some kind of falling wedge pattern here. Not going to overanalyze. I'm just looking at levels, keeping things super simple. Of course, the starting point of this most recent move, and of course, we're on the daily, guys, $2.4, which I'm sure all of you are familiar with now. Resistance at around $4.4. The difference there is $2, and of course, we just take the difference added to the resistance. That gives us a target of $6.4, and you can see that Sui's been having a hard time reclaiming, or I guess it's been chopping a lot around this $3.4 support level, which makes sense. Like when a crypto breaks below a support level, then it becomes a resistance, like to the upside, like once it starts moving back up. But I do think it's going to be moving back up in the coming days here, especially if we do get some bullish macro catalysts like a good CPI print later today. And I do think that this resistance level will be hit by the end of the month at the very least, and then sometime in March, this $6.4 target will be hit for Sui, probably on the back of this conference that I just mentioned, this Sui Play or Sui Gaming Summit. Sorry. But the thing that's interesting there, of course, is that this is not going to be the cycle top. I don't think. I know a lot of people, again, it's crazy how often I get this question or whatever. It's like, this is not a cycle top target for Sui. This is just a short-term target here over the next few weeks. And I do think that Sui will be going a lot higher, potentially as high as $20 by the end of this crypto bull market. But we'll have to take things, of course, one step at a time when it comes to the trading. Speaking of which, it's about time we stepped over to Aptos. And this, of course, is, Aptos has been super beaten down and all this stuff. But what is really interesting is that Aptos has also been moving a lot into AI agents. They just announced a hackathon for AI agents that started on February 10th, so 2 days ago, and it's going to run until March 3rd. I actually think that this is a little bit strategic in the sense that Aptos probably gets the sense that AI agents, there's going to be a huge hype because of Virtuals launching on Solana, and they're kind of positioning themselves accordingly. I do know that Aptos was working on that, I guess, a little bit before, but then again, so was Virtuals. Again, not going to get down to the rabbit hole there, but this is one thing that I think could potentially take APT higher if it is able to pitch itself as a AI agents chain. One thing that caught my eye was that Avery Ching, Aptos' new CEO, was on Blockworks, on the Blockworks Empire podcast, and Blockworks is kind of emerging as like one of these top crypto media companies. And I do think that that Avery Ching being on there is a big deal because it kind of tells you that big money, big investors are interested in Aptos, let's say. And last but not least, we're seeing more integrations of USDC on Aptos on different exchanges. This is something I highlighted, how USDC had finally launched on Aptos on on January 30th, I believe, on the mainnet, and now we're starting to see exchanges integrate a USDC, which is awesome, and I do think that's going to help more liquidity flow onto Aptos. And of course, that brings us to APT, which of course is not looking too hot here. You guys might know from my video earlier this week that I was saying that you could make the case that maybe the starting point was something closer to $6 or maybe $7. Doesn't matter, guys. Point being is that Aptos is not looking too good, but I do think that what we're seeing here is a bottoming pattern. I do think that this is a crypto that's going to surprise to the upside the most out of Sui and Solana, I guess, or relative to Sui and Solana. I do think that for the simple reason that Aptos has been so beaten down, whereas Solana and Sui have been like holding up much better. And I do think a lot of that was due just like to insider selling, and it seems that Aptos had a bad strategy. But of course, there was a bit of a leadership shakeup late last year, and I do think that things are starting to look good, as I've been mentioning. The supply of stablecoins on Aptos is growing, the number of active wallets on Aptos is growing, the number of integrations is growing. The list goes on. I do think that that we're going to see a really nice upside surprise, but we're going to have to take things one step at a time. And the first step is for Aptos to get back to the starting point of $8, and I do think that's going to happen here in the coming days. And then hopefully it'll work its way up to $10 and then $14, hopefully sometime in March. Anyways, guys, of course it's about time that I shilled the Coin Bureau Club. That's where we do deep dives into small cap and mid cap altcoins every single week. The way that we choose these altcoins is basically a combination of our research as well as suggestions from our Coin Bureau Club members. Then we put these altcoins in a poll, and the one that wins is the one that we review. We have a research feed where I'm sharing insights like these every single day. And of course, other members of the research team are also sharing insights. We have a team portfolio where we showcase our personal crypto portfolios as well as the cryptos that we're watching. We have an exclusive deals page where you can find discounts on crypto analytics platforms and stuff like that. And we have a members Discord where you can ask us questions, and where I'm doing technical analysis on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and select altcoins every single day. With all that being said, that brings me to the alpha of the day, which is that TON integrated layer 0. I think this for USDT interoperability, I think this is a very big deal for the simple fact that layer 0 is backed by this kind of like PayPal mafia. Layer 0 has been integrating with all these kind of crypto chains that are involved with all these large let's say PayPal backed cryptos, whether it's Solana, PayPal USD, like the PYUSD stablecoin. So I do think that this is something to watch, and it kind of tells me that TON is really serious about moving onshore. Of course, TON is this crypto that's affiliated with Telegram, which is one of these largest messaging platforms, and I do think that it's one of these cryptos, alongside Sui and Solana and Aptos. I do think that TON is one that actually could achieve mass adoption, purely because it's so easy to use, it's fast, it's cheap, it's scalable, it's integrated into Telegram and all that stuff. All that's missing is a proper push into the US market, which clearly, again, with this integration, I think is signaling very clearly that this is something that's going to happen. And I do think it's going to be bullish for TON. With all that being said, guys, if you did make it this far, then be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, ping that notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one.